Welcome to LUTV Spotlight. I'm John Jones, and today I'm your former LUTV film critic, Stephen Junious, to discuss the upcoming Academy Awards. How are you doing, Stephen?
I'm doing good. I'm glad to be back in my old stomping grounds. Thank you so much for having me back here at LUTV.
No problem. So, the Oscars are known for awarding several areas of film, whether it be Best Makeup or Best Picture. What are some of your categories that you are looking forward to this time?
Well, me being a technical guy, I work in television. I'm all about the stuff behind the camera. So cinematography, sound mixing, editing, visual effects, those are always the things that I am glued to the TV for. So it's an interesting year with all the movies out. So I can't wait to see who's going to win.
And so with these categories, what are some of your winner predictions?
As of right now, I see Vice taking home a lot of the gold. I love Christian Bale as an actor. He has some very interesting roles that he's been in the past, especially with his transformations. I can remember him in The Machinist being a living skeleton.
I remember.
Yeah, and then now in Vice, all that weight that he gained to portray Dick Cheney. So for somebody to go through those types of transformations, they deserve to win something. So I'll see if I'm right on that.
And so I believe that film is a subjective medium. And so some of my favorite films from 2018 didn't really make the cut. Mm-hmm. What were some films that you believe should have been nominated?
One that comes to mind, I don't know if you saw it or not, the comedy Sorry to Bother You.
Yes, I have.
Yeah, so if you've seen that movie, you know what the big surprise is in that film.
Yeah.
It's a movie that's out there, but it's a movie that tells a very interesting story. It's a movie that tells some interesting things about society. Yeah. So, to see more films like that, I'm a horror fan, for example, so movies like Hereditary.
That's another good
Another very disturbing film on a different level, but disturbing, surprising. It'd be good to see more stuff like that nominated.
And so, in the past, there have been interesting choices as far as it goes to Best Picture. And with choices and contenders like Bohemian Rhapsody and Black Panther, how do you feel about something like that? Like, how do you feel with them being in the ring for something as prestigious as this award?
It's time for it to happen. I'm glad to see that Hollywood and whoever the powers to be in Hollywood and in the film society to open up that avenue for more action films based on comic books, music biopics, things like that to be at that high level. I mean, for example, who would have thought that the Marvel Cinematic Universe would have made such an impact on the film industry as it has? There are people who've never read a comic rather in their life, but they flock to the movies to go see Iron Man, The Avengers, Black Panther, right, Ant-Man, Captain America. It's names that they've heard before. They may not have been interested in going back through all of the countless storylines in the comics, but the Marvel Cinematic Universe was an avenue for them to be able to reach out to those stories. And that's one of the wonderful things about film. It's open for everybody. There's a film or there's a documentary, there's some visual medium, whether it be in YouTube, mini films there or whatever the case may be, for people to find something to satisfy their interest. So, who knows? The following year, maybe a cartoon may be nominated for Best Picture. You never know.
I'll hope to live to see that happen.
Yeah. So, by the way, speaking of cartoons, I'm glad The Incredibles finally was not only made, but has been nominated for Best Animated Film. So
I am too. It took, 11 years?
11 years in the making. That just mean it just made it that much better when it finally happened.
Yeah.
So.
And so, with controversies like, say, the host nominations and some of the nominee selections, like we previously talked about, like Black Panther and Bohemian Rhapsody, do you feel that the Academy Awards is like devolving into mediocrity? How it's more disappointing than before?
It's interesting because nowadays, especially with this very heated, divisive, political climate that we live in,
right?
Everybody is using whatever platform that they can to make some kind of political statement. And 2018 was a very frustrating year for me as a film buff because there were a lot of movies that I was really anxious to see, Black Panther being one of the ones. You know, I was excited to see it because Black Panther is one of my favorite comic book characters. I'm also a gaming nerd, so he's one of my favorite characters to play in fighting games, and all that kind of stuff, all that fun, nerdy stuff. But, you know, as soon as you see the movie was being released, you see all of this backlash and controversy around it. Why are people making such a big deal about it? Is it because it's a black film? Is it because it's a predominantly all black cast? Maybe, maybe not. But, you know, these are the times. Times are changing. You know, people's ideas about stuff are changing. So there's kind of like a positive side to it that, you know, people are moving with the times. However, you get into controversies like Kevin Hart, you know, stuff being dug up from his past. Should he be held accountable for it? Yes. Should he be snubbed from the Oscars completely? I'm not really sure. It's not my place to, you know, to pass personal judgment on him. But, you know, for the couple of hours that he's on TV hosting the Oscars, he's there to keep the show going. He's there to make people laugh. He's there to make, you know, make light of mistakes that may happen and stuff like that.
Right.
So, Me Too, yeah, it has a place somewhere in Hollywood, but maybe not necessarily at the Emmys, not at the Tonys, stuff like that. So maybe people need to be more considerate of people's appreciation for these types of award shows, and not necessarily use them as their political platforms to, you know, to scream from their soapboxes and drive people away more from the Oscars and those types of shows.
I completely agree with you. With Kevin Hart, I felt like, while what he said was very wrong in a way, I feel like digging up things in the past that have happened, and from what I've read, he apologized for. I feel like there is such thing as redemption in Hollywood. While there's some that don't deserve redemption, like say Harvey Weinstein, who's done has numerous allegations, has done several terrible things. I feel like racist tweets, homophobic tweets, I feel as though if they learn from their mistakes, I feel like maybe they should have a chance again.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a one-time lapse in judgment, it is a bad thing. You should get your slap on the hand for it, but don't shun them from society, so to speak.
Like don't continue to flog them or like punish them.
And who knows in the future, you know, for 2020, what's going to be the new controversy for then? Are the Oscars and the Tonys and the Emmys, are they going to be the constant platform for people to, you know, to spill their guts and to try to, you know, share their, you know, personal ideologies on? You know, where does it stop? There are certain levels to stuff, but don't muddy it so much to where, like you said, it's just going to turn into mediocrity and just the whole thing is going to fall apart. So, interesting world, man. Interesting world.
Well, thank you for joining me today, Stephen. I really appreciate you coming out and doing this. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Anytime, man. Anytime.
And thank you for tuning in to LUTV Spotlight. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook. See you next time.